Imagine waking up at 3 a.m. because your calf is seizing so hard that you have to jump out of bed and pace the floor just to make the pain stop. If you have lived through this, you already know that most people in your life do not have a real answer for you. They tell you to drink more water, eat a banana, or stretch before bed. But you have tried all of that and you are still awake at 3 a.m. gripping the footboard for dear life. What nobody tells you is that nighttime leg cramps are not actually a sleep problem at all. These cramps are a signal that your body is running low on something it needs to keep your muscles working properly. And that signal gets louder every night because the root cause is never fixed. This is especially true for seniors who might be dealing with kidney issues or circulation problems that make the mineral balance even harder to maintain. I want to start with a remedy that sounds completely ridiculous, which is tucking a bar of soap under your bottom sheet before you go to sleep. Thousands of people swear this works, and there is actually a scientific reason why it might be helping your muscles relax. Understanding why the soap trick works points us straight toward the real fix. So stay with me because one of the remedies we are covering later works incredibly fast and you probably have it in your kitchen right now. Section 1, the soap remedy, what it is and why people believe it. The old folk remedy is simple because all you do is take a bar of soap and slide it under the fitted sheet near where your legs rest. Most people suggest using a lavender scent or a brand that contains magnesium. They leave it there all night long. People have been passing this tip along in senior centers and online forums for decades, and the reports almost always say the same thing about the cramps stopping or at least becoming much less frequent. We have to be honest and admit that no large clinical trial has confirmed this works, but dismissing the idea entirely means we might miss something very important about how your body heals. There are two main theories for why a bar of soap might actually help your legs stay calm while you sleep. The first idea is called transdermal absorption, which is just a fancy way of saying your skin absorbs things it touches. If your soap is made with magnesium or lavender oil, it might release tiny amounts of those compounds through the sheet and into your skin. We know magnesium can be absorbed this way because that is exactly how Epsom salt soaks work. So if the soap releases even a small amount of muscle-relaxing minerals, that could explain why people feel so much better. The second theory is that the soap affects your nervous system directly through its scent. Lavender has a documented effect on your body that can lower cortisol and reduce the kind of low-grade muscle tension that builds up while you rest. When that scent reaches you as you are drifting off, your nervous system might stay calmer through the night, which makes it much harder for an involuntary cramp to start in the first place, even if it is just a placebo effect. That does not mean the relief is fake because research shows that when your brain expects to feel better, it actually changes how your nerves send pain signals. Whether the soap works because of the magnesium, the lavender, or your own expectations, all of these reasons point back to the same mineral deficiency. Your legs cramp because something in your nerve signaling system is broken, and while the soap is a great workaround, we need to talk about what actually restores that system for good. Section 2. Magnesium, hydration, and electrolytes, the root cause. What if I told you that a muscle cramp is really just a communication error inside your body? A cramp happens when a muscle fires and contracts, but then it simply cannot find the signal to release. The electrical message that triggered the movement gets stuck in the on position. Magnesium is the specific mineral responsible for telling that muscle to let go, and without enough of it, the muscle stays locked in place. This can last for a few seconds or much longer, and that painful tension is exactly what wakes you up at 3 a.m. You might be wondering why your levels are low even if you eat a healthy diet. Most people lack enough magnesium without ever realizing it, and seniors are especially at risk because of the medications commonly prescribed after a certain age. Diuretics, proton pump inhibitors, and certain blood pressure drugs actively flush magnesium out of your system. You could be eating all the right foods and still run a deficit because your medication pulls the floor out from under you every single day. For those of you managing chronic kidney disease, the problem becomes even more difficult to handle. When kidneys do not filter efficiently, they lose the ability to regulate magnesium and potassium levels properly, which turns cramps into a predictable nightly event rather than an occasional annoyance. If you decide to try a magnesium supplement, the specific form you choose matters enormously for your results. Magnesium glycinate and magnesium citrate are the most bioavailable options, which just means your body can actually absorb and use them. You will find magnesium oxide in most cheap supplements on the shelf, but it absorbs so poorly that it often goes to waste. It is a good idea to check the label carefully before you buy anything. If swallowing more pills is not ideal for you, perhaps because of a sensitive stomach or kidney restrictions, an Epsom salt foot soak is worth trying tonight. Simply dissolve 2 cups of Epsom salt in warm water and soak your feet for 20 minutes. Epsom salt is actually magnesium sulfate, and it absorbs directly through your skin to bypass the gut entirely. This is a great alternative for people whose kidneys or digestive systems are already under a lot of stress. On the hydration side of things, plain water is not always the complete answer you might think it is. If your levels of sodium or potassium are already low, drinking more plain water can actually dilute those electrolytes even further and make a cramp more likely to happen. Stirring a small pinch of sea salt into your evening water or drinking a little bit of coconut water helps restore that natural balance. Here is where it gets interesting for kidney patients. Coconut water is very high in potassium, so please check with your doctor before you make it a regular habit. Section 3. Herbal remedies that target nerve pain and circulation. Cramps and nerve pain are often two sides of the same coin, rather than separate problems. For many people, especially those dealing with diabetes or circulation changes from kidney disease, the legs might ache or burn before the cramp even starts. You might feel a tingling or buzzing sensation that crawls up from your feet, which is a sign of neuropathy. This shares the same territory as cramping because both issues involve how your nerves fire and how well blood reaches your lower limbs. Valerian root is one of the better studied options for these nighttime muscle issues. It works by increasing GABA activity in your nervous system, and GABA is the chemical that puts the brakes on nerve signals to slow down involuntary firing. When you take it as a tea or a capsule about 30 to 45 minutes before bed, it does not knock you out, but it does pull your nervous system back from the edge where most cramps originate. Cramp bark has a name that is not subtle at all, and it has been used in traditional herbalism for centuries because of what it does to muscle tissue. The plant contains specific compounds that directly relax both smooth and skeletal muscles throughout the body. It is usually available as a tincture, and the traditional preparation is 20 to 30 drops in warm water before you go to sleep. If your cramps are severe or happen frequently, this is a remedy worth taking seriously alongside your magnesium. For the circulation side of the equation, ginkgo biloba addresses something the other remedies do not touch directly. Poor blood flow to the legs and feet is a major driver of nighttime cramping because muscles that lack an adequate blood supply run out of oxygen and seize up much sooner. Ginkgo helps improve that peripheral circulation, which makes it especially relevant for people whose vascular health has been affected by diabetes or kidney issues. Cayenne pepper works in a completely different way because of a compound it contains called capsaicin. When you apply it as a topical cream or add it to a warm foot soak, the capsaicin gradually depletes the neurotransmitter that carries pain signals from your legs to your brain. That deep, burning nerve pain that often comes with a cramp responds well to consistent capsaicin use because you are essentially turning down the volume on the pain signal at its source. And then we have chamomile, which is very easy to overlook because it feels almost too simple to be effective. However, chamomile tea contains glycine, which is an amino acid with documented muscle relaxant properties that can help you rest. It is gentle and safe for most kidney-friendly diets, and because it doubles as a sleep aid, it handles two problems at once. For people who cannot tolerate stronger herbs or have to worry about medication interactions, chamomile is a very reliable starting point. The most practical nightly approach combines a few of these different layers into one routine. You could try an Epsom salt soak for 20 minutes while the water is still warm. Follow that with a cup of chamomile or valerian tea and take a magnesium glycinate supplement at the same time. That combination covers your mineral levels, your nerve signaling, and your circulation without requiring anything unusual or expensive. I want to share one safety note before we move on to the next part. Valerian and cramp bark can sometimes interact with sedatives or blood thinners, so check with your doctor first if you take those. Ginkgo has its own blood-thinning properties and should be avoided if you are already taking anticoagulants. Finally, for anyone with chronic kidney disease, any high potassium additions need a physician's approval before they become a nightly habit. When those leg cramps hit you at night, it is usually just your body asking for something it is missing, which is almost always more magnesium or better circulation. While that old soap trick gets people talking, the real solution comes down to fixing what is actually depleted in your system. Tonight, try taking an Epsom salt soak and drinking a warm cup of chamomile tea before you head to bed, and just pay close attention to how your legs feel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.